Ever pondered if there's a way to overcome your enemies without entering the battlefield? In our world often dominated by aggression, finding non-violent solutions to conflicts can seem like a conundrum. Yet, throughout history, some of the most enduring victories have come not from physical battles, but from the power of intellect, diplomacy, and emotional intelligence. Indeed, the art of overcoming disagreements without a fight is an ancient one, steeped in wisdom and strategy. Join us as we explore 7 effective strategies to overpower your enemies without a single fight. Firstly, equip yourself with knowledge. It's the most potent weapon one can possess. Imagine being in a game of chess where every move is critical, every decision could either lead to victory or defeat. Would you not want to understand the game, its rules, the strengths and weaknesses of each piece on the board? The same applies in life. If you're dealing with an adversary, an enemy if you will, the importance of gathering information about them cannot be overstated. What are their strengths? Are they excellent communicators, or perhaps they have a knack for strategy formulation? Understanding these strengths can help you anticipate their moves, predict their strategies, and prepare your counter moves. Equally important are their weaknesses. Are they impatient, easily flustered, or perhaps they're prone to taking unnecessary risks? Identifying these weaknesses can provide you with a tactical advantage, a chink in their armor you can exploit when the time is right. But gathering information is not enough. You must also understand what drives them, what are their motivations. Are they driven by power, by ego, or perhaps by a sense of duty? Understanding their motivations can help you unravel the logic behind their actions, giving you an insight into their future moves. Consider the story of David and Goliath. David, a mere shepherd boy, was up against Goliath, a giant warrior. David, however, was not intimidated. He knew his own strengths, his accuracy with a sling, and he knew Goliath's weakness, his slow speed and overconfidence. Armed with this knowledge, David was able to defeat Goliath, not with brute strength, but with a well-placed stone. The power of knowledge is not limited to understanding your enemy. It also extends to understanding yourself, your own strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. After all, in the game of chess, it's not just about understanding the other pieces on the board, but also your own. So remember, true power lies in knowledge, not in physical strength. Scene script. Secondly, building bridges often helps in demolishing walls. Picture this: 2 nations on the brink of war, 2 people at odds, 2 businesses locked in rivalry. What's the common thread? Hostility. But what if we could neutralize that hostility? What if we could turn an enemy into an ally? That's where the strategy of building bridges comes in. This is not about constructing physical structures, rather it's about establishing common ground, opening communication channels and fostering understanding. It's about recognizing that beneath the surface we all share similar hopes, dreams and fears. Take the example of 2 nations. Rather than escalating tensions, they opt for dialogue. They talk, they listen, they understand each other's perspectives. They find that common ground, and in the process, hostility is neutralized. The walls of animosity crumble, replaced by the bridges of understanding and cooperation. Or consider 2 individuals locked in a dispute. They could carry on the fight, wasting energy and creating stress. But what if they chose to communicate instead? What if they found that sliver of commonality, that shared interest or mutual goal? You'd be amazed at how quickly a bitter rivalry can turn into a strong alliance. And it's not just about individuals or nations. Businesses too can benefit from building bridges. Rather than engaging in cutthroat competition, they could opt for collaboration. They could share resources, exchange ideas, and work towards common objectives. The result? Both businesses thrive, and the so-called enemy becomes a valuable ally. Building bridges is not about surrendering or losing. It's about transforming a conflict into an opportunity, an enemy into a friend. It's about realizing that we have more to gain from cooperation than from hostility. So the next time you find yourself facing an enemy, remember this strategy. Don't let hostility dictate your actions. Instead, reach out, communicate, find that common ground, build that bridge. So think about it. Wouldn't it be more rewarding to gain a friend than to sustain an enemy? Thirdly, remember that patience and persistence always pay off. Imagine for a moment a river. Over millennia, Its patient waters have carved out deep valleys and gorges, persistently eroding away the strongest of rocks. This very same principle of patience and persistence applies when dealing with your adversaries. Patience, my friends, is a virtue that cannot be overstated. In the face of conflict, it is easy to let emotions take the reins, leading to hurried actions and impulsive decisions. But it is patience that allows us to maintain our composure, to think clearly, and to act strategically. It gives us the time to understand our enemy, to learn their strengths and weaknesses, and to formulate a plan of action. When we are patient, we are not surrendering or showing weakness. No, quite the opposite. We are simply biding our time, waiting for the opportune moment to act, to strike. And then there's persistence. Persistence is the fuel that keeps the fire of our resolve burning. It's the constant, relentless effort that can slowly but surely wear down even the toughest of adversaries. You see, when we persist, we show our enemy that we are not to be taken lightly, that we are not going away, that we are here to stay. Persistence, in essence, is the process of turning the tables, of shifting the balance of power. It's about making our adversary realize that their resistance is futile, that their efforts to intimidate or dominate us are in vain. And remember, patience and persistence are not about being stubborn or unyielding. They're about being adaptable, about knowing when to hold back and when to push forward, when to be still and when to strike. Therefore, never underestimate the power of patience and the impact of persistence. They are not just strategies. They are the very values that can guide us in our journey, not just to overcome our enemies, but to become better, more resilient individuals. They are the keys that unlock the path to victory without resorting to outright conflict. Fourthly, mastering the art of ignoring can be curiously powerful. It's a strategy that requires a strong will, a calm mind, and the ability to detach oneself from the heat of the moment. Ignoring isn't about turning a blind eye or demonstrating indifference. Rather, it's about selectively choosing which battles to engage in and which ones to sidestep. It's about understanding that not every provocation requires a response, and that silence can often speak louder than words. Consider a situation where you're being goaded into an argument, a confrontation that seems to have no beneficial outcome. By choosing to ignore the provocation, you're not showing weakness but strength. You're showing that you won't be baited into unnecessary conflict, that you can maintain your composure even in the face of hostility. This strategy can often frustrate and disarm your adversary. People provoke to get a reaction, to unsettle you, to make you lose your cool. When you don't react as they expect, it can throw them off balance, leaving them unsure of how to proceed. There are numerous examples where this strategy has worked effectively. In the world of sports, athletes often ignore the taunts and provocations of their opponents, choosing instead to let their performance on the field do the talking. In politics, leaders frequently ignore the barbs and criticisms of their rivals, focusing instead on their own agenda and policies. This approach can also be applied in our personal lives. When dealing with a difficult neighbor, an antagonistic co-worker, or a troublesome family member, ignoring their provocations can often lead to a decrease in their antagonistic behavior. Of course, this strategy isn't applicable in every situation. There are times when confrontation is necessary, when issues need to be addressed head-on. But in many instances, ignoring can be an effective tool in your arsenal, so sometimes the best reaction is no reaction at all. Fifthly, winning hearts can actually lead to winning battles. Now, this might sound a bit too poetic for a strategy, but let's delve a bit deeper to understand its potency. Winning hearts is a powerful approach in any conflict, whether it's a corporate rivalry, a community dispute, or a global conflict. It's about gaining the support and favor of those around you, those who have the power to influence the outcome of your battle. Consider this. You stand against your enemy, but you're not alone. Around you are individuals, each with their own sphere of influence. Now imagine if these individuals were on your side, supporting your cause, echoing your voice. You would be formidable, wouldn't you? Your enemy would find themselves isolated, their influence diminished. But how does one win hearts? Well, it's not as tough as it might sound. It's about understanding the needs and desires of those around you and aligning your actions to meet them. It's about showing empathy, being reliable and building trust. It's about demonstrating that you value their support and that their alliance with you is not just beneficial, but meaningful. Throughout history, we find instances where this strategy has proved successful. One of the most famous examples is Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent struggle for India's independence. He won the hearts of millions by aligning his cause with the aspirations of the people. His enemy, the British Raj, found itself increasingly isolated, both domestically and internationally. The rest, as we know, is history. Another example is Martin Luther King Jr., who rallied people around the cause of civil rights. His powerful speeches and peaceful protests won the hearts of many, isolating those who opposed equal rights and ultimately leading to significant reforms. So winning hearts is not just about being liked or popular. It's a strategic move, a way to bolster your position and isolate your enemy. It's about turning the tide of the battle in your favor. Hence, remember, a friend won is an enemy lost. Sixthly, never underestimate the power of kindness. This might seem counterintuitive when talking about dealing with your enemies, but bear with me. Kindness holds a unique and potent power. It's not about being weak or letting others walk over you. It's about disarming others with unexpected warmth and understanding. Imagine for a moment a world where every act of aggression was met with an act of kindness instead. The power dynamics would shift dramatically, wouldn't they? That's because kindness has an uncanny ability to catch people off guard, to make them pause, reconsider, and even change their perspective. Let's delve into a story of how kindness can transform relationships. There was once a man who held a grudge against his neighbor for years over a petty argument. He would always meet his neighbor's hostility with equal or greater hostility, and their animosity only grew. One day the man decided to try something different. Instead of responding to his neighbor's rudeness with anger, he began to respond with kindness. He would smile, offer help when needed, and even brought over a homemade pie on one occasion. Over time, this relentless kindness began to soften the neighbor's hostility. Eventually, the neighbor began to reciprocate the kindness, and the feud ended. They became good friends, proving that kindness had the power to turn an enemy into an ally. Kindness is like a mirror. When you show kindness to someone, it often reflects back to you. It's a strategy that requires courage and patience, but the results can be remarkable. It can melt away hostility, dissolve grudges, and eventually turn a foe into a friend. So the next time you're faced with an enemy, remember the power of kindness. Choose to respond with understanding, with empathy, with compassion. It might just surprise you how effectively it can diffuse tension and transform relationships. So kindness, my friends, is a power that can melt the hardest hearts. Lastly, the ultimate weapon to destroy your enemy, forgiveness. A bold statement, isn't it? Yet it holds profound truth. Forgiveness, my dear listeners, is not merely an act of letting go, but a powerful tool that can transform and heal. It can end long-standing feuds, mend broken relationships, and yes, it can even destroy your enemies. Not through violence or subterfuge, but through the sheer power of compassion and understanding. Let's delve into history and pull out some inspiring examples. Remember the feud between the Hatfields and the McCoys? Two families in the late 19th century engaging in a bloody feud that lasted for decades. It only ended when the leaders of both families decided to put an end to the bloodshed and forgive each other, or let's venture into the realm of the political. Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, chose forgiveness over resentment. He forgave his captors, his oppressors, and led South Africa towards a path of reconciliation and healing. These examples are not isolated incidents, but a testament to the transformative power of forgiveness. It disarms the enemy, not by weakening them, but by making them irrelevant. It shifts the narrative from conflict to resolution, from hostility to compassion. Forgiveness, however, is not a sign of weakness. It requires immense strength and courage. It asks us to rise above our egos, our hurt, and our desire for retaliation. It requires us to look at our enemy not with hatred, but with empathy. It is not about forgetting the harm done, but about choosing to break the cycle of harm. In forgiving, we do not just free our enemy from the shackles of guilt and resentment, but we also free ourselves. We let go of the heavy burden of grudge that weighs us down. We open the door for understanding, healing, and compassion. So remember, forgiveness doesn't make you weak, it sets you free. It is the ultimate weapon to destroy your enemy, not by causing harm, but by promoting peace and understanding. So there you have it, 7 non-violent strategies to destroy your enemy. From harnessing the power of knowledge, building bridges, practicing patience and persistence, mastering the art of ignoring, winning hearts, embracing the power of kindness, to the act of forgiveness. Each strategy is a testament that conflicts can be handled and adversaries overcome, not through physical battles, but through the strength of character and wisdom. Remember, the greatest victory is the one where no blood is shed. Until next time, stay wise and stay peaceful.